The Little Book of Valuation isn't just about numbers. It's about discovering worth. Worth in companies, worth in opportunities, and most importantly, worth in yourself. Price is what you pay, but value is what you get. And if you can learn to see value where others only see noise, you can transform not only your investments but your entire life. You're listening to Beyond the Cover, where books transform into wisdom, and wisdom transforms into power. When you look at the world around you, every business, every product, every brand you see is carrying a hidden truth, the truth of value. Some companies are worth billions. Others disappear overnight. And yet the secret that separates them is not luck, not chance, but the power of knowing their worth. And just like a company, you too carry a value that the world will either recognize or overlook depending on how you define it for yourself. The market out there is noisy, unpredictable, and full of distractions. But beneath the noise there is always a signal. And that signal is value. To understand value is to understand life itself. Because every decision you make, every opportunity you take, is nothing more than a valuation. When you choose how to spend your time, when you decide which people to keep in your life, when you invest in your skills, you are valuing yourself just as an investor values a company. Valuation is not about numbers on a spreadsheet. It is about clarity of thought. It is about asking yourself the most fundamental question. Is what I'm giving worth what I'm getting? That question applies to money, but it also applies to time, energy, and relationships. Think of your day like a business. Each hour is your capital. Each action is your investment. If you spend it on things that drain you, that bring no return, you are destroying value. But if you invest it in growth, in learning, in creating, you are compounding your worth. The secret of the greatest investors, the entrepreneurs who built empires, and the leaders who changed industries was never that they had some magical foresight. It was that they respected value. They didn't chase hype. They didn't blindly follow the crowd. They measured, they weighed, and they acted with conviction when the market was distracted by noise. The world wants you to believe that price is the same as value. But price is just what you pay. Value is what you get. The crowd will cheer when a stock price skyrockets. They will panic when it falls. But the true investor remains calm. Why? Because they are anchored in value, not in emotion. And this principle is not limited to investing. It is the foundation of life. People put a price on you based on where you studied, how much you earn, what you look like, or how many followers you have. But none of that defines your real value. Your value is defined by the skills you build, the integrity you live with, and the impact you create. The world may misprice you for a while, but just like a great company, true value always shines through when patience and persistence back it. To live with the mindset of valuation is to live with discipline. It is to see through illusions and ask, what is real here? When you read about a fast-growing company, do you blindly buy into the hype, or do you ask whether that growth is sustainable, whether it creates more than it consumes? Apply that to yourself. Are you just running fast, chasing endless tasks, or are you truly compounding your abilities and building a foundation that lasts? Growth alone means nothing if it destroys value. True growth is growth that adds more than it takes, growth that multiplies instead of depleting. That is the essence of sustainable success. The market will tempt you with shortcuts, just as life tempts you with easy escapes. A hot stock tip, a glamorous opportunity, a chance to shine instantly without the work. These are the illusions of price without value. The disciplined investor resists. And so must you, because every shortcut that skips the hard work of building value eventually collapses. But every deliberate action that compounds over time becomes unstoppable. Look at the greatest businesses in the world. None of them were built overnight. They were built brick by brick, value upon value, until the world could no longer ignore them. And the same principle applies to you. You may feel unseen, undervalued, overlooked right now. But if you keep compounding your skills, your knowledge, your resilience, the time will come when your true worth cannot be denied. That is the power of valuation, not just in finance, but in life. It forces you to strip away illusions, to measure reality, and to act with courage. When everyone else is panicking, you stay calm. When everyone else is chasing hype, you stay disciplined. When the market doubts, you believe in fundamentals. And when life throws chaos at you, you anchor yourself in your values, your principles, and your vision of who you are becoming. Price fluctuates every day, but value endures. And when you live like that, you become unshakable. When you learn to see the world through the lens of value, everything changes. Suddenly, you no longer get carried away by appearances, by the surface-level noise that blinds most people. You begin to notice the difference between what shines and what truly lasts. A company can show flashy growth in the short term, but if its foundation is weak, if its business model cannot sustain itself, sooner or later the truth of value will reveal itself. The same is true for us as individuals. You may impress people with quick results, but if those results are built on shaky ground, they will not last. The world rewards those who build on substance, not on illusion. Think about how investors treat risk. A good investor never ignores risk. They price it in. They don't panic because risk exists. They expect it, they respect it, and they prepare for it. Shouldn't you do the same? Life will always carry risk. The risk of failing, the risk of rejection, the risk of losing. But risk is not the enemy. It is the cost of pursuing something meaningful. The mistake most people make is pretending they can avoid risk by playing small. They shrink their dreams. They settle for less, believing that safety will protect them. But what they don't realize is that avoiding risk is the riskiest move of all, because it robs them of growth, of discovery, of the chance to compound their true value. Just like in valuation, you must learn to discount the noise of fear and focus on the fundamentals. Ask yourself, what are the true cash flows of my life? Not just money, but the daily returns of your actions. Do they enrich you? Do they strengthen your future? Or are you trading your time for empty rewards that look like growth but hollow you out inside? The way investors measure the return on capital, you too must measure the return on your hours, your energy, your relationships. Because time is the only capital you can never get back. Every choice you make is an investment, and the dividends of those choices will either elevate your life or drain it. The crowd is impatient. Investors chase quick profits. People chase quick wins. But valuation teaches patience. It teaches that true worth reveals itself over time, not in days or weeks, but in years, sometimes decades. That is why those who endure, those who commit, those who stay consistent, eventually surpass those who only chase the next high. Compounding requires time, but it also requires faith. The faith that every small action, every brick you lay, every step you take, is building something greater than what you see today. And when you hold on to that faith, you become immune to the market's short-term panic, and you become resilient to life's temporary setbacks. Markets misprice companies all the time. Great companies trade at low prices because people doubt them. Weak companies trade at high prices because people believe the hype. The same happens with people. Sometimes the world underestimates you. Sometimes it overlooks your worth. And sometimes it overvalues others who are all shine and no substance. But here's the truth. The market can stay irrational for a while, but value always wins in the end. If you keep building, if you keep compounding, the day will come when your worth cannot be ignored. So stop worrying about whether people see you right now. Focus instead on whether you are creating real value, because recognition will follow value. It always does. And here lies the greatest lesson. Your value is not determined by the market. Your value is determined by what you build, by how you grow, by the impact you create. The market may set the price, but you decide the worth. The crowd may cheer or mock, but you hold the fundamentals. Just like the wise investor waits for the right opportunity, you must learn to wait for your moment. And when it arrives, you will know that it was your discipline, your patience, and your relentless pursuit of value that brought you there. The beauty of valuation is that it reminds us of something we often forget. Everything has a cost, and everything has a return. Nothing in life is free, not even the choices you think are safe. If you spend years avoiding discomfort, the cost you pay is the life you never lived. If you stay silent when you should speak, the cost is the opportunities that slip away. And if you fill your days with distractions, the return is emptiness. But when you choose discipline, when you choose courage, when you invest your energy in growth, the returns compound into confidence, resilience, and freedom. That is why knowing your worth and investing in it is the greatest valuation you will ever make. Companies are judged by their fundamentals: revenue, profits, assets, liabilities. These numbers tell the truth no matter how fancy the packaging looks. Shouldn't we judge ourselves with the same honesty? Strip away the excuses, the labels, the illusions, and ask, what are my fundamentals? What skills am I building? What discipline do I practice? What value do I bring to others? Because just like investors, the world eventually sees through the surface. You cannot fake fundamentals forever. But the good news is you have the power to improve them. Every book you read, every skill you practice, every challenge you face head-on strengthens your fundamentals. And when your fundamentals are strong, your value rises, regardless of what the market thinks today. Think of growth the way an investor does. Growth is not good by itself. Growth is only good when it adds more than it takes. A company that grows fast but loses money is destroying value. And a person who fills their schedule with busyness but gains nothing is doing the same. Don't confuse activity with progress. Don't confuse being busy with being valuable. Growth must be meaningful. Growth must create strength, depth, and impact. Every time you learn, every time you discipline yourself, every time you turn knowledge into action, you're creating growth that compounds. And that growth is what builds your value. Patience is not passive. It is active. Investors wait for years to see their valuation thesis come true. They endure market swings. They hold steady when others panic. That patience is power. And in your life, patience works the same way. When you are building a dream, when you are investing in yourself, you will face doubt. People will question you. Results will come slowly. But if you keep compounding, if you keep valuing your time and your growth, the results will arrive. And when they do, they will arrive with a force that makes every sacrifice worth it. The crowd lives in the short term. They want instant returns, instant gratification, instant recognition. But valuation is about the long game. It is about asking not just, what is this worth today, but what will this be worth in the future? Apply that to yourself. Stop asking, what do I have now? And start asking, what am I building for tomorrow? Because the person who lives for the short term trades away their value for scraps of pleasure. But the person who thinks long term multiplies their worth until it changes everything. And remember this, no one else can do your valuation for you. Just as investors must do their own work, their own analysis, you must look at yourself with honesty and decide your worth. Don't let others set your price. Don't let the market of opinions decide your value. Because the market can misprice you, but only you know your true fundamentals, your growth potential, your resilience. Hold on to that truth, and you will never be shaken by the ups and downs of the world. There comes a point where you must stop chasing the opinions of others and anchor yourself in your own valuation. Investors who lack conviction get swayed by every market rumor, every headline, every swing of emotion. But the great investors, the ones who profit while others panic, stay grounded in their analysis, in their belief about value. That is the lesson you must carry into your own life. If you live only for approval, you will be like a stock tossed around by market sentiment. One day celebrated, the next day abandoned. But if you know your worth, if you build it day by day, then no rejection, no setback, no criticism can shake you. Because you are not priced by the crowd. You are valued by your substance. The question is not whether people notice you now. The question is whether you are worth noticing in the long run. Every hour you spend developing your skills, every effort you invest in your discipline, every sacrifice you make for growth is invisible to the crowd today, but it is compounding. It is quietly building value. And one day, the world will look back and call overnight success, not knowing that you spent years building the fundamentals. That is why you must never confuse being unseen with being unworthy. Just like great companies hidden in plain sight, your true value is waiting for its moment to be recognized. Risk, uncertainty, setbacks, they will come. The market punishes impatience, but it rewards conviction. The same is true in life. When you fail, when you fall, when things don't go your way, don't panic sell your dreams. Hold, reevaluate, strengthen your fundamentals. Failure is just a temporary mispricing. If your value is real, if your vision is strong, the future will correct it. You are not defined by one bad day, one mistake, or one season struggle. You are defined by what you keep building, by how you keep compounding, by your refusal to sell yourself short. Too many people spend their lives chasing the wrong multiples. They measure themselves by comparison, by how they stack up against others, by what they own, by what they wear, by how many likes they collect. But just like in investing, multiples without context are meaningless. A company's P/E ratio only makes sense when compared to its growth, its risk, its fundamentals. And your life's multiples, your achievements, your recognition, your possessions, only matter when compared to the foundation behind them. Without substance, comparison is an empty game. The only real measure is whether your value is growing, whether you're becoming stronger, wiser, more resilient than you were yesterday. Discipline is the currency of value. Without discipline, potential evaporates. Investors who cannot stay patient lose to emotion. People who cannot stay disciplined lose to distraction. Discipline is what allows growth to turn into value. It is what allows effort to turn into achievement. It is what allows patience to turn into power. Every day you choose discipline, you are telling the world, I am not here for hype. I am here for value. And when you live like that, people may doubt you in the short term, but in the long term, your worth becomes undeniable. Remember, valuation is never exact. It is not about predicting the future with perfect accuracy. It is about grounding yourself in reason, in fundamentals, in conviction. Life will never be perfectly predictable. The market will never move in straight lines. And your journey will never be without obstacles. But if you keep asking yourself what creates true value, what compounds over time, what is worth the cost, you will always move in the right direction. And that direction will take you farther than any shortcut, farther than any illusion, farther than any price the crowd tries to place on you. At the heart of everything, valuation is about truth, not the truth of appearances, not the truth of market noise, but the deeper truth of what something is really worth. And that is the truth you must demand of yourself. Strip away the illusions, strip away the labels, strip away the opinions that others try to place on you. Ask yourself, what am I truly worth, and what am I doing every day to increase that worth? Because the answer to that question is the foundation of your life. You don't need to be the loudest in the room. You don't need to chase every opportunity. You don't need to follow the crowd. What you need is clarity. The clarity to know that every day is a chance to invest in yourself, to invest in your health, your knowledge, your discipline, your purpose. And just like the wisest investors, you must learn to separate price from value. People will try to put a price on you, but that price is temporary. Your value, if you build it, if you protect it, if you compound it, is permanent. Think of your life as the ultimate investment. What kind of company are you building with your days? Are you the kind that shines briefly and collapses? Or are you the kind that endures, that compounds, that becomes stronger every year? Every choice you make is writing your financial statement, your balance sheet, your story. Will it show assets of discipline, resilience, and wisdom? Or liabilities of regret, distraction, and wasted time? That choice is yours every single day. And here's a truth that must burn inside you. The market does not decide your destiny. You do. The crowd does not define your worth. You do. Just as every great investor ignores a hype and trusts their conviction, you too must ignore the noise and trust yourself. When you commit to building real value, the world may overlook you for a while, but eventually, the correction comes. The market finds its balance. And when that moment arrives, you will stand tall, not because the world finally saw you, but because you always saw yourself. So live with a mindset of valuation. Measure your actions. Invest your time wisely. Respect the cost of your choices. Build fundamentals that cannot be shaken. And above all, remember that price is what you pay, but value is what you get. Pay the price of discipline, and you will receive the value of freedom. Pay the price of effort, and you will receive the value of growth. Pay the price of patience, and you will receive the value of greatness. Your life is your company. You are the CEO. You are the investor. You are the visionary. Build something of such value that the world cannot ignore it. Build it with courage, with conviction, with consistency. And when the market of life finally recognizes you, you will smile, not because you were finally seen, but because you always knew your worth. That is the true power of valuation. That is the true power of living by value. And that is the power that will make your life not just profitable, but unforgettable. This was Beyond the Cover, where books turn into wisdom and wisdom turns into power. Keep growing. Keep valuing yourself.